Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Candid Conversations about Network Marketing. I'm BK, and as usual, over on the other end, Dr. Wayne. Hi, Dr. Wayne.
Hi, BK. Hi, everyone. Really looking forward once again to today's podcast, today's interesting conversations.
So, as usual, today is my turn. I'm going to snatch back that opportunity. What are we going to talk about today, Doc?
Well, last week we talked about systems and of the important systems of a network marketer. So today we'll look at mindset. So I know we were talking before we came on that there's some interesting things that you've been reading and also looking at, the same as myself. So we might just have a correlation of what has inspired us this week in our readings and videos, all that. So BK, I believe, has mentioned that there's been a couple that you've really been inspired and like to talk about.
Yeah, I guess in our industry, we always know that leaders are learners or leaders are readers, right? And I guess I've always known that I'm a perpetual student. I like to learn. So I was just sharing with Dr. Wayne that the theme for myself this month or so, because of all these things that's going on in the world, and there's a lot more time being stuck in a place, right? So I have been focusing a lot on the mind and the brain and paradigms and so on. So been listening to people like John Assaraf. Interestingly, he has something called inner size, which is like like exercise is working out your body, but inner size is working out the brain, right? And he said something very interesting the other day, and I kind of liked it. He said that we have been given a very amazing piece of machinery or technology called the brain, but we were never given a handbook for it. So I guess today we titled it "Why Don't We Do the Things We Want to Do?" Because a lot of times as network marketers, we do know what we want to achieve, but yet somehow we know what we should do, we know what we can do, and we know what we ought to do, but yet we don't do it, right, Doc? And maybe today we can discuss a bit of that.
Yeah, yeah. And I think initially what we might do is talk about the different laws of the universe. Now, the phenomena, what I'm going to talk about now is these laws from an ancient medicine perspective have been around for thousands and thousands of years. And these days, we can correlate these ancient laws with quantum physics. But I'm not going to get into the depth of that conversation just now. But one of the books that I've read many, many times now, so it's kind of putting things that we read into action. And before I get into these spiritual laws, I remember reading something about Abraham Lincoln and what he used to do to become a better human. Because what we're talking about here is becoming a better person, to become more successful, better with relationships, better network marketer, whatever it might be. But we have to put things into action. And one of the things that I remember reading, which was um, back when I first read it, probably 20 plus years ago, and I used to go through and do this, was basically look at where your weaknesses are, so or where your strengths are. So you can look at it either way. What I did is I looked at strengths. So, for example, Monday became a day where maybe it was about responsibility. Tuesday was a day about being committed. Wednesday, so look at yourself and look at where your weaknesses are, turn them into words of strength, and then put a day to it. And from there, say today is commitment, for example, and give yourself a tick every time you've come across something whereby the possibility of making a commitment to someone was real or not real, and just put a tick there. And then have another layer whereby, I really should have made a stronger decision about that, or I should have committed a little bit more to maybe I wasn't there with doing my exercises, for example. So it's putting together something that's going to allow you to literally become proactive with everything that you do to allow the remembering from everything that we've said before, proven by science now, that 90 to 95% of us is programmed prior to the age of 7. So we're actually running on someone else's program. The 5% of us that is conscious, so for example, we can say, I want to be committed. But if you've got a program running that is 95%, I find it hard to be committed, that 5% of your conscious brain isn't really going to work. So what you've got to do is put things into a system whereby you do something repetitively and routine. And that's another really an important word in ancient medicine, especially Ayurvedic sciences, where they talk about the more things you can put into a routine whereby you want to achieve different things in your life and that routine now becomes you, then you change that subconscious programming. And I think this is where we can now look at different ways of putting what you want in your life onto paper as a positive. And if you want to go to the next step, divide the week up to the 7 days and then basically score yourself at the end of the day. And if you want to go to the next level, then journalize how you felt you handled commitment on that day, for example. And always put gratitude, what you're grateful for, with humility as well. So that's a nice way of starting, I think, trying to get your body or your mind into a routine of doing positive actions and allowing the subconscious now to take over positively for you.
So, Doc, you're saying that what you are basically saying just now was describing a certain methodology on achieving certain things that we want. So, for example, if somebody finds that they are not able to commit, and then they should turn it around and then choose a certain day and fix it as a day for commitment and start with small little actions of this is the day I commit to doing something. In fact, actually, the act of doing that would already be an act of commitment, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
and then that is a small win for the person, and then they keep building on it. That's very fascinating because I just recall a story that I heard that was done by NASA. You know, NASA, the people who send people onto the moon, right?
Yeah,
What they found was that they actually did this experiment where they gave the astronauts that were about to be sent up to the moon concave glasses to wear such that they would be disoriented, right? And they were worried that because when they go up to the moon, the people might be disoriented, and they wanted to explore the psychological effects that people might have if they are exposed to such an environment over a long time. Now, what was very interesting was they found that after about 30 days, 25 to 30 days,
yeah,
these astronauts started to be able to, the brain started to rewire itself such that they were able to see upside down things well, right?
yeah,
Now, but what is even more fascinating was that they did it one more round where they extended the experiment by having two groups of people, and they found that if somebody stopped after a week or stopped after 14 days, they were not able to achieve the same results. In fact, the magic number was anywhere between 25 to 30 days to form a new habit, for the brain to rewire, to remap all the connections and the interjunctions and the networks and everything, for the brain to gain a new kind of learning of thinking. So what we want to express here is that if you are trying to grow a new or develop a new habit or change your mind, your paradigm, it might be important for you to persist doing something for at least 30 days.
yes, very true. Very, very true. And the longer you keep doing that, of course, that routine then becomes you and then it becomes ingrained within yourself. So, one of the getting back to the book that I really enjoyed and still look at it these days, but really studied a lot. I was a big, I used to love reading, and as mentioned, still do, but not as often. But I used to love reading Deepak Chopra, and he's got a beautiful book called The Seven Spiritual Laws of Success. And once again, divide your week up into the 7 days. So the first day would be, say, Sunday would be the law of purity or potential. So this is where you actually take time to literally meditate. So this might be one of your commitment things that you can do. So I'm committing myself to meditate at least 30 minutes per day, and you're silent witnessing the yourself. So I kind of like when you're doing a meditation, if I asked everyone now to think of where you are, but I want you to try and put yourself up into a corner and then visualize yourself from that corner. And that's what we call witnessing. And when you do meditation, this is one thing that you can try and do to allow your self to be witness to what you're actually saying and doing. So right now, I'm actually doing that. And what happens is that you can actually formulate your words before you say them, because you're witnessing something that is trillions of seconds earlier than you actually say the words. And if we're able to do this all through our life, it's a really difficult thing to do all the time. But once again, the more you put into a routine, the easier it becomes. And the more we're able to do this, therefore, we will probably not say some of the things that we may go, whoops, I shouldn't have said that. So it's called silent witnessing. And in that, when you do this more and more, non-judgment will be the end result of Sunday being the law of pure potential. So anything there you want to go through? I'll go through each one of the days, BK, if you want to ask a question or clarify something.
Yeah, so Sunday is a silent meditation, right?
Yeah.
And Dr. Wayne has been a very strong advocate and proponent of meditation. And I think, end of the day, what is important is that I always believe in this principle that if you want the results of, if you want to be successful, then you look at people who are successful and follow, model what they are doing, right? And I think, interestingly enough, if you look carefully into all the successful people that you probably admire and know about, a lot of them, or in fact, I would probably hazard a guess and say that almost all of them are meditators in some sense, or they practice meditation to some level as well, right? So I am starting to do it as well, right? I used to resist that idea, but I started to do it as well, and I am gonna be reporting back some of the results as well, together with all of you. So please follow along and listen to what Dr. Wayne has to say about that.
It's and the deeper you get into meditation, the more you really do enjoy it. I'll just put it that way. So that's Sunday. So now we move into Monday. Monday, when we're looking at the 7 spiritual laws of success, Monday then is the law of giving. So Monday is bring whomever you encounter a gift, a compliment, flowers. Grateful giving and being grateful in that receiving and giving as well. Keep wealth circulation by giving and receiving care, attention, appreciation, and love. So you might, for example, on the Monday, ring up someone and say thank you to them, or whatever it might be. Or you might ring up on Monday to have flowers delivered on the Friday. So think of, okay, what can I do to give? What can I do to give from a grateful heart, from gratitude, from humility? So Monday is the law of giving.
So just before people start to kind of like, mess around with the schedule a little bit, are these days absolutely necessary in this order, or can I shift them around in a sense?
You can shift them around, you can do what you wish, but this is the way that the 7 spiritual laws of success by Deepak Chopra suggests. And
Okay.
it just feels, whatever you feel is right for each person, but it's just looking at each law and then, okay, how can I put this into reality for me?
All good.
And
So
one
Monday
of
is
the,
giving.
sorry,
So Monday is giving.
Monday is giving. And remember, and we've heard this many, many times before, success can be monitored by your tithing. So the amount that you tithe can then be influential in terms of how much success you have as well. And it might only be when you haven't got much money, it might only be $1 or $10 or flowers or something like that, or even some people can't even afford that in desperate times. And it might be just reaching out and saying thank you, as said. So there might not be anything given in monetary terms, but the more this can come from your heart in terms of love and appreciation, gratitude and humility, the more you'll find the law basically then states that then it will come back to you.
I guess it is also like a muscle, right? So the act of giving and the art of giving is like a muscle. So I think we need to grow that muscle, right? Nobody is going to be able to lift 1,000 pounds of weight from day one, right? We start small, we start with a small water bottle and we start lifting, and then we progressively grow in that arena, right? So I think the same happens for giving, right? We give as a small amount and then we graduate to a bigger amount, and then we graduate to the amount that we can aspire to, right? So think of it like a muscle, and that's how I think of it anyway.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And each one that we're talking about is literally a muscle as well. Yeah, that's a good analogy, BK. Tuesday is the law of karma, where every action generates a force of energy that returns to us in like kind. So therefore, choosing your actions that brings happiness and success to others ensures the flow of happiness and success to you. So known as the law of karma. So that's Tuesday. So what we're doing here is just making sure that our words, our actions, and our deeds are in kind. What we would like to receive back, that's how we treat others.
Second law of Newton.
Yeah.
For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction.
Yes, exactly.
And I think this message is highly, highly timely right now. If we do know what is going on in the world, there's so much unnecessary unpleasantness going on, right? So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think it starts with us, right? It starts with us. So let's start to be kinder to everyone else. And I think that will, if we just take our own responsibility and be kind to the person next to us, I think that will just spiral out and it will grow, it will ripple outwards rather than, and of course, what Dr. Wayne talks about, karma, very, very important.
And Wednesday is the law of least effort. So accept people, situations, and events as they occur. Take responsibility for your own situation and for all events seen as problems. And relinquish the need to defend your point of view. So this is really looking at humility as well. So it's the law of least effort. I think we see it so often, unfortunately, today on the TV in terms of the news. People today are just not taking responsibility for what's happening in their own life. And it's a huge challenge when you see this, because what the people are doing is basically giving away their power by giving, by basically, yeah, they're taking away their power because they're not taking responsibility. As soon as you don't take responsibility for everything that you've done, you give away your power and you become weaker and weaker. And the only way that you feel you can become stronger and stronger is blame someone else and not take that responsibility. And that, unfortunately, is the negative aspect of this. But if we look at the positive, it's basically take responsibility for everything that's going on in your life, whether it be that at this particular time, your health is not where you want it to be, whether your wealth is not where you want it to be, or whether your relationships are not where they want to be. Take that full responsibility. And once you do that, things change. However, you still have to remember that consciously, if you've got this as a subconscious program that I don't want to take responsibility, I want to blame someone else. Now, if we say that in the rawest form that I just said there, 100% of people will deny what I just said because they don't want to take responsibility of what I just said. However, because it's running as a program, we don't know that it's actually happening. So this is where we go back to Sunday's law, where we've got to basically meditate on it and look at our whole being as something that to dissect, to look at, and to try and dig deeper into who we are. And a lot of people today, unfortunately, aren't responsible for their actions, taking responsibility for their actions.
So Doc, you said that this is the law of least resistance
Least effort. Sorry, least
or
effort.
least effort, and but the other side is taking responsibility. Why I kind of don't quite get it yet, right? So the law of least effort and responsibility, what does that? It seems to be opposite actually. Can
Yeah,
you
yeah.
just
So
quickly
this is
explain it?
literally about when you take responsibility for everything that happens, you actually relinquish your need or to have a point of view. So when that happens, it's then least effort. You don't have to put any effort into it. You just basically, you've taken the responsibility of what's actually happened. And because you've done that, you actually now disintegrate any karmic influence that may have actually happened. So that's why it's least effort. Whereas
I
when
see.
you defend that, when you make a mistake and you defend that by maybe saying you didn't do it, now you're potentiating that mistake to get worse and worse.
I see. So by accepting responsibility, we kind of actually expend less effort, or at least we expend less negative effort, right?
Yeah.
Because we can then start to correct things. I think that's a fascinating idea. It actually reminds me of the time when I was living in China, and I lived in China for a couple of years. I was living in this city where the men in that city were well known to be very soft or very compliant or very non-confrontational, right? They had this reputation, and whereas the women in that city were known to be very argumentative and very loud and so on, right? But what I really later realized was that the men were very smart people because they realized that these women, while they were very argumentative and they like to scold their husbands and their boyfriends and so on, right? They were also very kind internally. They were very kind-hearted people. They just like to scold, but they were very kind, right? And the men in that city learned very quickly that, like what you were just saying, in a very interesting way, the law of least effort was to, yes, it's my fault, dear. I'm sorry. Yes, it was my fault. I didn't do this. And that ensured a very peaceful and harmonious relationship, right? For me, when I looked at it, it's like, I'm not gonna take this lying down when somebody was like shouting at me, right? But I then realized the wisdom and the smartness of these people there, right? The men there were like, they were using this law, and now I realized it, right? So that was literally how they maintained harmony and peace, and they got along very well.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And how many times have we heard that once you tell one fib and don't take the responsibility of that fib, you've got to then create another fib, and then you've got to remember the fib you told of the first, and it just creates more and more challenges. So
Yeah,
that's looking at it from that aspect as well. And when you take responsibility, yeah, I did that. Yep, sorry about that. I'm really messed up. Then it's done. It's done. You've owned it. Which is a total different aspect of thinking, right? And getting back to your story, yeah, quite interesting, quite interesting.
yeah. I
And
saw their wisdom. After a while, I realized that, oh, okay, this is what you are doing, and this, I mean, after that, they had my respect.
yes, yes. And Thursday is the law of intention and desire. So inherent in every intention and desire is the mechanics for its fulfillment. And make a list of your desires. Trust that when things don't seem to go your way, there is a reason. So let's look at this in a network marketing perspective. We've spoken about this many, many times. If we want to become one of the highest executive ranks in whatever network marketing company you're in, one of the things that you have to really do really well is basically lead. So if things aren't happening the way you want it to be, maybe you've got to now read books about leadership to actually get your level of understanding about how you do that. Or it might be that, hey, you don't feel you're a good salesman, and remembering that if you've got children, if you've got a boyfriend or girlfriend or a partner, you are a good salesperson. It's just that you haven't put the effort, or not the effort, you haven't looked up how to become a salesperson in terms of where you are with your network marketing company. Remember, sales is nothing to do with what we really think sales is about. Sales is really just talking to people and answering their objections. So I'll just read this last statement again. Trust that when things don't seem to go your way, there is a reason. And when you know that reason, then you go then and literally find out from books and from tapes and audibles, which was spoken about before. We're in the information age. Find out where you can, what you can do, where you can go to actually now try to get through that.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of reminds me of the statement that says that I'm not too sure that it is actually credited to Albert Einstein, because these days on the social media or on the internet, a lot of times people are credited with saying things that they may not have said. But I think so far it's always been credited to Einstein in the sense that he says that the definition of insanity is doing the same things over and over again and expecting different results, right? So
Right.
I guess what Dr. Wayne is saying here is that if things are not going our way, then we kind of need to be more introspective and look at why. There's always a reason. And the beautiful thing about this is that human beings, we are the only ones in all of the the universe as we know of it now, right? That can change where we end up in a year's time, in 5 years' time, by making a conscious decision to change something now, right?
Yeah.
So I always tell my team that if you are getting the results you want by doing what you're doing now, then keep doing it, right? Keep doing it because you're getting the results you want. But if you're not getting the results you want by doing what you're doing now, then you need to think about changing it, right? Maybe the way you're doing it is not 100% effective, or maybe the way that you're doing it shouldn't be the way at all, right? And that
Yeah.
is how we adopt, or that is how we look at learning. Like, for example, today when you listen to us, if you are already very successful in whatever you're doing, and by all means, congratulations to you, keep doing what you're doing. But we are hoping that we can bring value to the industry by sharing things about how people can change. And I think that's ultimately what we are hoping to achieve here right now.
Yes, most definitely. Most definitely. And remembering, as we both just said there, that if there is a reason, then go back to Sunday and then put it on your list. Why am I not achieving the things that I want? Put that in your meditation as an intent, and then witness it silently as if you're in the corner, and you'll get a different response. Because if you listen to Einstein, if you keep on doing the same thing, you're going to get the same response. And the Friday's law is the law of detachment. Allow yourself and others the freedom to be who they are. Do not force solutions. Allow solutions to spontaneously emerge. Uncertainty is essential and your path to freedom. I'll just read that again. Uncertainty is essential and your path to freedom. And this is where a lot of us actually, when you and I mean this once again nicely. A lot of people, as they do go up the ranks of any business or even in any network marketing company, their ego now shines, and their ego shines because they like control. And the more you want to control something, the more you actually now don't understand the law of detachment. What happens with control is you then bring about all types of devastation. But if you accept that uncertainty is essential because you accept that you want to change, when you really get that, you'll understand that this is the path to freedom. And it's known as the law of detachment. Detach yourself from the outcome. When that occurs, the outcome then comes your way. We've talked about this in another way. This is another law below other laws, known as the law of resistance. And simply, I'm sure you've heard of whatever you resist persists, because you want to control the situation. Whereas if you let it go, freedom emerges.
Yeah, this is something that we all can learn from. I mean, we want to fall in love with the activity, but not fall in love with the results, right? And when we focus on the activity, the results will naturally follow. I mean, I guess sometimes as we grow in our network marketing industry, we kind of initially we want everyone to join us, right? And we want everyone we talk to join us, and that is kind of like the benchmark that we give ourselves. But as we mature, all of us start to realize that, hey, not everyone can be a network marketer, right? In fact, not everyone should be one, right? Some people would be, some people would thrive in their own other industries. So we are just sending out an invitation to come and take a look at what we have. And some will join, some will not join, and some will be happy customers, some will be happy team builders with you, right? And that's the way it is, right? That's just the way it is. That's just the way we are all engineered to be. So there's no need to feel uh, like, slighted because somebody said no to you. They're not saying no to you, they're saying no to the opportunity, right? And all you did was just invite them to view the opportunity.
Correct. Yes. Yes. Very true. And Saturday is the law of Dharma, Dharma. Seek your higher self, discover your unique talents, and ask yourself how you are best suited to serve humanity. Using your unique talents and serving others brings unlimited bliss and abundance. And I think that is one of the real reasons why the humble network marketer actually gets into business, or the humble entrepreneur gets into business, is basically to serve. And from my understanding, that all the readings and all the places that I've been to throughout the world, when I've sat with 10,000 people meditating and 5,000 people meditating, we only really come on earth for two major purposes. One is to find out who we are, which is this self-discovery and our unique talents. And secondly, is to serve. They're the only two reasons why we're here. And what happens is we get mixed up in all other all other circumstances, all other shiny objects that take us away from those two principles. But I think the law of Dharma sums up both of those two quite nicely. Seek your higher self, discover your unique talents. And if we go back to Abraham Lincoln, discover your unique talents, all those talents you might want to aspire to, write them down, write down your unique talents that you may know of, and even have that as a subset. So the major ones are the ones that you want to change, and then the subset ones might be unique talents, to make sure you're still doing service and you're still being humble to self and others as well. So Saturday is the law of Dharma.
So by Dharma, what we are meaning here is the seeking our higher spiritual self. Is that what it means?
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I know. We understand that every one of us who's listening in might have your own individual spiritual inclinations. That's totally fine. But I guess that's what we're trying to express here is just seeking out our higher spiritual self, right? I like a recent saying that I've listened to, and it says that we are not, our body is not our spirit is inside our body, or it's not that the spirit is residing inside our body, it's that our body is, the spirit has manifested a body or something along those lines. I'm paraphrasing here. So that is how we see it. Interestingly, quantum physics, if you are really interested, is starting to be able to scientifically show us some of the things that we're talking about in pure science, right? Very, very fascinating stuff. But that's the topic for another time. So, Doc, would you like to quickly recap for us the 7 days?
Yes, we can do that. So the first one is Sunday, the law of purity or potential. So this is the day for meditation. The next one, Monday, is the law of giving. So this is now the aspect of tithing. The law of karma. This is where we're now basically doing to others as you would in kind. Wednesday is the law of least effort. So relinquish the need to defend your point of view. Take responsibility. Thursday is the law of intention and desire. And this is where we make a list of our desires, and we then take these things and and then put them with intention. So this is the intention of desire. The law of detachment. So this is allowing yourself the freedom to be who you are. And remembering the major key phrase here in the law of detachment is uncertainty is essential and the path to freedom. And the law of Dharma is basically seeking your higher self, discover your unique talents, and bring these unlimited talents and allow bliss and abundance to come to you because you've understood and are taking action on these 7 spiritual laws of success.
So we have one task per day that's bite-sized enough and one single focus, and that's very good. So thanks, Dr. Wayne, for that was a very interesting 7-day breakdown for everyone, and that kind of nicely wraps up another episode that we have for today. Remember to join us on we are now currently live streaming on 3 platforms. We are live on YouTube, we are live on Facebook, we are also live on Zoom, right? And so please do also visit us on our website and be informed of future updates or even future programs. We are currently at networkmarketerspodcast.com, and you can always find our archive episodes and over there, right? So thanks, Dr. Wayne. Happy to have a candid conversation with you again today, and I will see you next week.
Thanks, BK. Thanks, everyone. Have a great week, everyone. You too, BK.